And now I'd like to introduce Nasi Peretz, the president of Anchor Operating Systems, who's going to talk about ticketing, which is what's most important, gets the customers and the tourists spending money, and AI. Nasi?
Thank you so much, David. And just to kick off with a question, who's ridden the New York City ferry? Awesome. So I was hoping there would be some hands. We are the brand that you might have never heard of because we don't put ourselves anywhere, not even in font 4, anywhere at the footer. We are the ticketing for the New York City ferry, along with some of the largest attractions around New York and the US. So the Statue of Liberty, we power their ticketing, and that means their box office, their scanners, their point of sale on the boats, their Starlink antennas on their boats. But we do the ticketing for Alcatraz Island, Niagara Falls, Navy Pier in Chicago, Bacardi worldwide. If you guys ever drink Angel's Envy, gin, any of those distilleries, you're welcome to reach out to me for tickets, whether that be in Italy, France, UK, Puerto Rico. Just to give you a breadth of some of our clients, I realized this became so small in font that not even I can read it. But the point is to share that we're not a brand that likes to be front and center, mostly because we're 40 nerds out of LA, and nerds are introverts by nature, so we don't go in front of people. There's an additional 40 nerds out in India that are in charge of maintenance, but we're responsible for federal and municipal contracts like the New York City Ferry, like Statue of Liberty, that are awarded by Congress through the National Park Service, NPS. We also work with a lot of private entities, publicly traded companies like Pursuit, which is Flyover Chicago, or Bacardi, which is, believe it or not, the largest privately held alcohol company in the world today, owned by one family. They're doing very well for themselves. My kids strive to be, where's Grace, to be influencers, but I told them alcohol is the way to go. So just in short, we're a multi-channel ticketing platform. I don't want to bore you guys with who we are, but more so as to how AI is changing the ticketing space and how in turn you can then reduce some of your staffing or learn from some of your data via AI. And this doesn't have to be through us, so this is not a plug for us whatsoever. In fact, just want to make sure you guys are asking the hard question from either your reservation system, your dashboarding platform, your BI tool, whichever one ingests your data today. So I'll start with some real data. None of this here is fictitious. This is approved data from one of our clients, the San Diego Hornblower boats. So we power the boats for Hornblower in 22 cities across the US, UK, and Canada. And some of this is just picking on one port. So a couple things. Let's start from the perspective of the guest. So a guest has the ability to ask questions, right? And the concierge group here covered some of them are not so great questions, like where's the bathroom? Certainly you can ask that from the AI tool, but we have a staff of 40 different call center agents out of Chicago, which can rack up quite a bill, right? These are 40 full-time employees. They're not 1099. And they're being asked a lot of questions about things that are really not meaningful to the bottom line. Meaning they're there to support sales, support service, meaning transfer my ticket, refund my ticket. But sometimes they're asked not so helpful questions. So I'll start by, how do we build an AI tool that takes care of some of those questions without bothering these call center agents? This tool just ingests any piece of info that you have on your site, be it FAQ, be it anything else that you can feed it. So in this case, we actually fed it 3 years of historical call center questions, and it was able to answer a lot of these questions. So I'm going to put it on the spot, and everything I do is do it live just to embarrass myself. So what is a family-friendly tour? And we ask that, and Wait, it's not sharing that. Let me share that. There we go. There's a tool. What is a family-friendly tour? So just ask that from the chat tool. And in the chat tool, let's just say, what is the dress code? My wife's favorite question. And in typical ChatGPT nature, it takes a second to respond. And the recommended dress code is casual and comfortable clothing. Okay, that means I can dress however I want. Where is the parking? All these basic questions that you know your call center is entertained with for, on average, statistically, 4 to 5 minutes before they actually buy. So if we can get some of those out of the way, and of course you can always type representative, and you guys have interacted with enough of these tools. So I'm going to take you to something a little bit more interesting. This is just a given, right? Your AI tool should be powering that. What's more interesting is looking at reporting and how it should be powering your reports. So everything you're seeing, real data. I'm going to go grab a real sales report and show you what you would do today. Today, you would pull up a report, you look at sales, you look at all the sales channels, and you ask yourself, okay, how did I do in November? You rack your brain. You're like, okay, how did the call center do? How did the web do versus ticket booths? You dig deep. Maybe you would do some drag and drop in your BI tool and say, okay, how are my OTAs selling? And you pull up a pie chart of it or a graph. And you're like, okay, City Pass. And let me put Katie here. Katie's in the audience. Go City. How did Go City do for me versus Viator? Okay, it did very well. You do this analysis yourself. But the power of ChatGPT in your hands is that you can ask a lot of these questions directly to your reporting tool and not worry about trying to figure it out yourself. So let's ask it a few questions. Hey, Duder, how did I do in December? And you don't even have to say revenue-wise. You could just say, how did I do? That's the power of ChatGPT. It infers what you're trying to ask. Again, the timing on this is related to ChatGPT's response time, and it's ingesting any kind of transfer or refund that has occurred down to the second. So this is not, 24-hour delay. This is all very much real time with whatever the call center has done in the last few seconds. And I'll pull up a few other cool questions. And we'll do, by the way, put me on the spot. Therefore, the total revenue for December. Oh, that's rough. How was the revenue in December? Let me ask that. That's a bear. Oh, you're right. I should. You guys are smarter than I am with ChatGPT. So I'm going to let it finish failing at this question, and then I'll do the next. Okay. So how about in 2024 December? And we'll then ask it for some comparison. By the way, put me on the spot with, I meant at the beginning, this is going to be a bi-directional presentation. So any questions you want to ask it, things like, what was the most popular day of the week? What is the top tour? It doesn't have to be pre-thought questions that I've lined up here because I don't want this to feel like it was doctored. There we go. $1 million is much more impressive. And then compare this to November 2024. So keep in mind, we're asking it to aggregate a whole month worth of data. So this is not, and none of these are pre-calculated values. Nothing here, I'm not cheating. We didn't figure out how to have these questions lined up. That's why I want you guys to put us on the spot. We're just asking it as it goes through and calculates and spits it all out. And then here you see that we did 1.3 in November versus 1.1. I'm rounding up by $60. And then let's ask it a few more challenging questions. Which was the top tour for the month? I'll just leave it for the month. I could say November, December. We could say a lot of things. What is it saying about this? Okay, the charter. There was a charter. It's probably a wedding. Actually, it's an event for Intuit. It's a corporate event for, you guys know Intuit. We do our taxes through them. So they had 1,500 people of their staff come to an event. Looks good in October, so they did well. I'm happy it doesn't show how much they paid. And then let's see, we can ask it, what is the most popular day of the week? I do want to ask it about how it's doing of web sales versus the box office. Let's see, the most popular day of the week, no surprise, is Saturday. Probably the most popular day for most of the attractions in this room today. How did my web sales do compared to the box office? And my tone, as you guys see, is very casual. You don't have to formulate questions in how, for example, NYU would, in a very research-oriented voice. You can just say however you want to say it naturally as you speak into a friend. Total revenue generated from box office sales is approximately 10 million. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to retrieve the total from web sales. Okay. How was the web sales channel versus box office? Maybe if I introduced the word channel, it would understand it a little bit better. Oh, there you go. It understood it a little bit better. So this is just an example, and I don't want to bore you guys with 40 more examples, but literally anything you ask, it'll attempt to answer. It won't come back with, I don't know. And it won't come back with what more importantly is, I'll get back to you next week or tomorrow. So this is changing reporting overall and your use or dependency on BI tools, which historically have been very expensive, right? Who here in the room pays for Tableau or Power BI? Yeah, no surprise. You guys probably are spending north of $100,000 a year in some of those tools if you just got 10 licenses for your team. That adds up. And I'm not suggesting you use our tool by any means. I'm suggesting feed some of your data to ChatGPT to see what it can do. And it's very much private. It doesn't get publicized to the world. And you can flag it as private. And it's wonderful what it results. And we've been able to leverage it quite a bit. We're also leveraging it for price adjustments and dynamic pricing. So letting ChatGPT figure out what the trends are for the last 10 years, because it's very good at historical. As you guys know, it doesn't have the most recent data. So it's very good at pre-COVID numbers. And it'll tell you if you should be pricing more aggressively. If you actually feed it your last 2 years of data, you can actually ask it to say, what should I be pricing my event or my tour today based on what you've seen? And Empire State Building, you might have noticed that you have to use tools like Diginex for dynamic pricing, or try to do calculations yourself in rough Excel spreadsheets. It shortcuts a lot of that. And it's pretty miraculous what it's able to do with just 2 years worth of ingestion. So highly encourage you guys to use it. I'll pause there and just go back to tell you, this is the same set of tools that we're using across 22 plus APIs that are then taking anything we've learned here and feeding them back out for distribution. So just know we don't like to live in a bubble. We like to work with a few other partners. David's team is one of them, and the concierges are an essential part of that. So thank you. I just want to open it up for any questions. Hopefully I stayed within 10. Yes.
How do you, so looking at this, I'm curious to learn more about how your program works with other ticketing partners. So, for example, I work with at the New York Philharmonic, we use Testatora as the ticketing platform. Do you partner with other organizations that have other ticketing platforms, and in what capacity?
Very good question. Yes, we do. And here you'll have One World Observatory in the room, and you'll have 9/11 Memorial. They're using 2 different ticketing platforms, nothing to do with Anchor. And we partner with them selling the downtown experience. So we sell the ticket that downtown experiences the Statue of Liberty, 9/11, and One World. When that ticket is sold, we're actually inserting into their ticketing platform and retrieving back a barcode so that we try to work in very peaceful way with every other ticketing platform. We're able to take some of your exported data and feed it into ours, or vice versa, right? So in this case, we're actually doing bidirectional insertion. If they sell the ticket, we're inserting into ours. You get the picture. Point is, we like partnerships. It's not always reciprocal. So, so some folks like Fair Harbor have blocked us and don't want to work with us anymore. But we try to make friends, and most friends, including Tessitura, they're friends. They try to keep us at arm's length. But when someone like a client such as yourself asks for us to collaborate, they do it without any issue. Yeah, it can make charts today, very, very dynamic charts. So some of this charting here, the same capability exists within ChatGPT. It requires a layer of visual that ChatGPT doesn't have natively. But as you know, if it can make a picture of Trump hugging Biden, then it can definitely make a chart. So it is just a creative plugin that we had to put into it. So.
Last shot.
Thank you, Nastasha.
Okay. Nasi, thank you.
Thank you.